Meow, my friends. Sweden's gone from neutrality to naval supremacy faster than you can say IKEA assembly instructions in Russian. The Swedish government's just announced they're sending up to 3 warships to join NATO's Baltic Sea Party. But wait, there's more. They're also tossing in an ASC 890 surveillance aircraft and 4 Coast Guard vessels. It's like they're packing for a weekend getaway. But instead of sunscreen and swimsuits, they're bringing radar and torpedoes. Why the sudden urge to make waves, you ask? Well, it turns out someone's been playing a rather expensive game of underwater jump rope with the Baltic Sea cables. Since 2023, 10 undersea cables have been damaged and fingers are pointing at Russia faster than you can say borscht. These aren't just any old cables, my friends. They're the lifelines connecting Estonia, Finland, Sweden, Germany and Lithuania. Without them, how would we stream our favourite Swedish crime dramas or order those delightful flat-pack furniture kits? Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson, in a moment of profound understatement, declared, "We are not at war, but there is also no peace." Well, thank you, Captain Obvious. That's like saying, "We're not hungry, but we could eat." This deployment marks Sweden's first military contribution as a NATO member since joining in March 2024. They're like the new kid at school trying to impress everyone by bringing the fanciest lunch. In this case, a smorgasbord of naval might. The ASC 890 surveillance aircraft is the real star of this show. It's like a flying security guard with X-ray vision for the sea. This bad boy can track up to 1,000 airborne and 500 surface targets simultaneously. It's basically playing the world's most intense game of I Spy at 20,000 feet. I wonder if it can spot fish doing the YMCA dance underwater. But let's not forget the historical significance here, my friends. Sweden's been neutral longer than most of us have been alive. This is like your vegan friend suddenly deciding to open a steakhouse. It's a plot twist worthy of a Nordic noir novel. Sweden's gone from ABBA to Alpha Dog in the Baltic Sea playground faster than you can say Mamma Mia. Speaking of ABBA, I hear they're working on a new hit single, Warship Queen. The Dancing Queen's traded her platform boots for steel-toed combat boots, and she's ready to take on the Baltic. Maybe they'll use their famous meatballs as depth charges, or perhaps lutefisk as a secret weapon. One whiff of that stuff and any enemy submarines will surface faster than you can say aquavit. Of course, this nautical newcomer isn't just about flexing military muscles. It's part of a broader strategy to protect those all-important undersea cables. These aren't just any old wires, my friends. They're the digital arteries of our modern world, carrying everything from cat videos to stock market trades. Without them, we'd be back to using carrier pigeons and smoke signals. And let's face it, pigeons are notoriously bad at transmitting high-definition streaming content. But why all this fuss about the Baltic Sea, you ask? Well, my friends, it's become more crowded than a Swedish midsummer festival. NATO and Russia are playing a high-stakes game of battleship, and Sweden's decided it's time to join the fleet. It's like they've gone from sitting on the sidelines to jumping into the deep end of the geopolitical pool. And let's not forget about Finland, Sweden's neighbour who joined NATO in April 2023. They expanded NATO's border with Russia by 1,300 kilometres. That's like adding an extra long piece to the world's most tense jigsaw puzzle. Now Sweden's joining the party, turning the Baltic into the hottest spot this side of a sauna. Of course, Russia's not too thrilled about this nautical newcomer. They're probably planning to release weaponised dolphins in retaliation. I can see the headline, meow, Flipper flips off Finland. Or maybe they'll deploy trained seals to counter Sweden's warships. It'll be like a very militarised version of SeaWorld out there. But let's talk about the economic implications, shall we? These undersea cable incidents aren't just a pain for IT guys with a fear of scuba diving. They're causing more waves in the economic world than a belly flop at the Olympic diving competition. Trade routes are being disrupted, energy security is under threat, and the price of Swedish meatballs might skyrocket. It's enough to make an economist seasick. Speaking of economics, let's not forget about Sweden's recent $1.23 billion military aid package to Ukraine. That's a lot of krona. It's like Sweden's gone from sitting on the fence to building a whole new fence and then jumping over it with a jetpack. They're fishing for trouble and reeling in Russian aggression faster than you can say surströmming. But what does all this mean for NATO's collective defence strategy? Well, my friends, it's like Sweden's bringing the best potluck dish to NATO's defence dinner party. Their contribution fits into the broader picture like the last piece of a very complicated IKEA bookshelf. And speaking of IKEA, I hear they're branching out into submarine parts and underwater cable repair kits. Flat pack frigate, anyone? The public perception in Sweden is as mixed as a smorgasbord. Some Swedes are all for it, ready to trade their neutrality for a spot at the NATO table. Others are more hesitant, worried they might be biting off more than they can chew. It's like the whole country is having an existential crisis over meatballs and military strategy. But let's not forget the real victims here, the fish. With all these warships and submarines zipping around, the Baltic herring are probably suffering from severe motion sickness. They might need to form their own underwater NATO North Atlantic Trout Organisation. My friends, if you're watching this from an underwater cable repair ship, give us a like. We know you're busy down there, probably wondering if you should have gone into IT instead. At least you're not the one trying to assemble an IKEA warship with nothing but an Allen wrench and a prayer. In conclusion, Sweden's gone from sitting on the sidelines to jumping into the deep end of the NATO pool. It's a bold move that's sure to make waves in the Baltic. Will it lead to an underwater arms race? Will fish need to choose sides? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, the Baltic Sea just got a whole lot more interesting. Sweden's famous neutrality has gone the way of the dodo, or in this case, the Baltic herring. It's swum off into the sunset, leaving behind a wake of warships and worried Russians. As we watch this nautical drama unfold, one can't help but wonder, what's next? Will Denmark fortify its coastline with Lego bricks? Will Norway deploy Viking longships? Or will Iceland unleash the Kraken? Whatever happens, you can bet your last meatball that newscats will be here to bring you all the fishy details. So, my friends, keep your life jackets handy and your periscopes peeled. The Baltic Sea is turning into the world's most tense aquarium, and Sweden's just added some pretty big fish to the tank. Let's hope they can navigate these choppy waters without causing too much of a splash. After all, in the game of international relations, it's always better to be the Swedish chef than the Swedish fish. We'll return shortly with more updates. I'm Ron de Parmesan, and this has been another Newscat special report. Remember, in a world full of fake news, we're committed to bringing you the real deal, even if it sounds fishier than a can of surströmming. Stay tuned, stay informed, and for the love of cod, stay above water.